What's up, one and done CBB crew? It's your boy Mike Holland, aka MC Holland 34 on X, the captain of the one and done CBB media ship. We are here to bring you a live before lock show for this huge 8-game slate, and I say huge because that prize pool is super nice. $11 entry over there on DraftKings, 10K to first. The chat is already blowing up, so. If you followed us before, we appreciate it. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons if you have not. We're at, I think, $12.97 for subs. So we're closing in on 1,300. And as Jay would say, we're trying to get to 1 million fulfilling. Hopefully we can get that done before the end of the season. But yes, we've been trying something different with these live before locks. I'm here to answer all your questions, obviously. But you have to be a subscriber to use the live chat. So please, if you could help us out there, your boys would appreciate it. Just take a single second, click that button. It's the best way to support the work that we do and get your questions answered ahead of tonight's. It's an 8-game slate now because the Houston-Utah game, due to inclement weather down here in the Central and East Texas region, we don't know how to handle the cold weather. So they had to push that game back to tomorrow. Kids are here, so who knows? One could come busting through the door. Didn't have school today down here in Austin. So, hey, who knows what's going to happen on this live before lock. But I do know one thing. I want one of the breadheads out there, if not myself, to grab some of this 10 Gs here tonight for sure. So, looks like we got Cam and Jeremy jumping in the chat here, loving the new intro music. The countdown gets you hype. Great choice by somebody. That somebody is Eric the Blue, of course, who's hitting the ones and twos as I go through this live before lock. And then king of the single entry has joined us. That is Corey McDaniel. Let's go. Big bucks today. Absolutely, man. Big bucks. Now, the prize structure is pretty crazy. If you don't get first, it's pretty sad. But we're not going to. There's 2 more commas for second and third, so nothing too crazy here. Ryan Osterman, 6 degrees today in Soda, 16 degrees warmer than yesterday. We're still hooping. Yeah, man. I mean, we here in Texas, man. We don't know how to how to act, how to handle anything once it gets below freezing. So I don't envy anybody up north, though. I'm a Texas boy, so bring on the summer. But yeah, here we are, man. We have the slate details here. It's an 8-gamer now, so not the 9-gamer. I'm kind of glad that Houston, Utah is not on this slate. This slate's already pretty tough. It tips off here at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and talk about earning your $10,000 tonight. I mean, this is a tough slate. The pricing's tough. The game environments are tough. The one really good game environment we have features 2 teams that are in the top 50 in bench minutes used. So that's kind of annoying. We got injury news all around. As you can see, we're coming to you a little bit earlier today because there are some things that we're going to want, to be able to make moves around, hopefully within the hour after we finish the show here. So coming to you a little bit earlier, but we're paying attention to the injury news. We got Caravan, McNeely, DAW from Seton Hall, Jenkins, Elijah Strong from Boston College, Darren Reed. All these guys have questionable tags. We did have Devin Royal listed as questionable, but he is apparently active as of not too long ago per the old Twitter ski. So that kind of complicates things from one of our value plays that we were thinking about playing, which was Evan Mahaffey. Which I'm actually kind of glad I don't have to click his name tonight. So that feels pretty good here. And Steve saying, what's up, Mike? Big night. At least the Royal News are. Yeah. So that Royal News is nice. I hope we can get a few more of these checked off before we start, getting closer to that, 30 to 15 minutes for lock once you start making all kinds of crazy left and right turns on your lineups here. But I don't think we're going to see a massive total take this down tonight. There's just not a lot of upside. Pricing is tough. I think the winner is probably going to be around 250 to 260. I wouldn't be surprised if it's lower. If it's just one of those ugly nights. So if guys, like I said, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, please do that. It really helps us out. We're trying to grow. We do all kinds of content here. Darren jumping in with the thumbs up. Old Nate CC Hustle there saying, let's get this bread. And old Jay, the conductor in these streets with the fire emojis. So we got everybody popping up in here in the chat. Drop your questions. Let's get to it. Let's run down this one. So first game we have on tap here, Mississippi State +8 at Tennessee, 138 point implied total. Remember, these metrics that we use are KenPom based. Mississippi State implied for 65 points. They're 163rd in tempo. Tennessee is 332nd. pretty slow and a tough defense. Mississippi State's 126th in bench minutes. They've kind of been a little more condensed recently, which is nice. The first guy we have to talk about on their side is Cam Matthews. He's been great. He's 8,600. He's put up some nice performances, over 30 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5. This is a tough front court. For me, it's tournament only. He's going to play 36-plus minutes if he's not in foul trouble. Everything kind of has to go right for him. Like, he needs the rebounds. He needs the stocks. He's got to be efficient from the floor to give us a tournament winner here. So I don't know that I'm going to get to Cam Matthews, man. There's only a few spend-ups on this slate that I'm really targeting. And I'm trying to get to these guys in the 6-7K range and a couple of these nasty plays down at the bottom to try and win this 10K. But he has to be in the player pool. I think I have 12 lineups so far. Probably have to get a few more in there before we close up shop. But, Cam Matthews, a decent tournament play, I would say. Keyshawn Murphy, I actually like him a little bit more. He's $1,700 cheaper. He has 30-plus fantasy point upside. He's definitely a boom-bust GPP target. He can put up fantasy points in a hurry. He's one of my favorite plays throughout the year to kind of jam in. But now you're starting to pay a pretty good price tag up here at 7K. Earlier in the season, you can get him for pretty cheap. But he's kind of rounding out. And this is exactly where he should be. He's much more involved offensively than Matthews is. Kind of has the same upside as far as stocks and peripherals when you look at his rates. The problem is not guaranteed those big minutes like Matthews is, and also the matchup. It's not great. Like, you have Parra and Milicic on the other side. And obviously Tennessee's defense probably looking for a bounce back after the Vanderbilt mess where they gave up a bunch of points and gave up nearly 50% from the floor. So I'm expecting Tennessee at home to lock down the clamps. I think Rick Barnes, having coached here in Austin for a long time, we know he's defensive minded. I expect him to bounce back. So I definitely don't want to go too crazy on this Mississippi State side. I have to mention Josh Hubbard because of the price. He's 6,700. Like, he's getting Ziegler defense. I mean, the rates are awesome for this price tag, but the game environment, not great. The Ziegler defense, not great. Last year in 2 games against these guys, 18 and 25 real-life points against them. What's crazy is he didn't have an assist in all 63 minutes against these guys. It's just hard to trust the other production. If he doesn't, if he obviously has a rough night shooting, there's no way he's going to pay off 6,700. If he scores 20 real-life points, you're going to need a few assists and a few steals to pay off a tournament. So kind of hard to trust there, but an interesting piece. These other guards that start with them, RJ Melendez, 6,500, Claudel Harris, 6,100. I think Melendez has a little bit of tourney appeal. Claudel Harris, I don't know that I can get to these guys. And you have Riley Kugel down here at 5,300. Kind of going through the same situation. It feels like there's at Florida. He's like in, he's out. He's playing 30 minutes one night. He's playing 10 minutes another night. Boom bust GPP option. I mean, he was great in the overtime win against Ole Miss, 21 points. But prior to that, he hadn't played much. So I'm not interested in chasing this. I think that this is a nice spot for Tennessee to get to. And Mississippi State's implied for 65 points. So it's going to be really tough to get to one of these guys and feel comfortable about it. So he is listed as probable is Kugel, so we expect him to go. But I don't think I'm really going to have him in the player pool here. Tennessee at 73 implied total. I love this as a bounce back spot. Mississippi State playing much faster this year than they have in the past. Tennessee's 333rd in bench minutes used, so you know who's going to be on the floor. Mississippi State's going to want to push the pace. They're not going to want to let Tennessee's defense get set. So I feel like the number of possessions in this game could be up a tick or two. If Mississippi State's going to try to steal one on the road here. But you got Sakai Ziegler. He's now 9K. And, man, he's been awesome. I mean, he's been awesome for the last couple of years, considering him more of a cash play at this price point. He's definitely playable in tourneys. He can get to 40+, but that price kind of takes some of the upside out of it. Now, a tournament winner could be 4.5x on some of these guys. So you have to take that into consideration as well. High usage, high assist rate, high steal rate. I feel like this is a pretty solid spot for Ziegler, but I think I'm finding him in more of my double ups than I am using him in tournament settings. Because in tournament settings, I want to try to spike this Chaz Lanier play, just boom bust, right? He's definitely – I mean, you guys have heard me talk before. I don't love playing guys when they kind of get to like 6,500 or 7K or over when they're shot dependent. This is a guy who can score 28 to 30 real-life points. So his price is taking a dip because he hasn't been great. And he missed the clutch free throw at the end that, they fell to Vanderbilt there. And he's got to get hot from the field because he doesn't really do anything else. So Chaz Lanier, kind of an interesting, like if you're playing the quality, I think it's like a $95 quality tonight. He's kind of an interesting move, but I'll probably toss him in a lineup for the big GPP. And then Milicic at 7,400. I think he's good for cash or tournaments. This is a tough Mississippi State front court, but he's playing 30, 32 minutes, 33 minutes, solid rates across the board. But outside of blasting Arkansas, I mean, he hasn't had many games where he's going for like 5x at this price tag. So I'll be a little cautious with Milicic. I'll have him in a few lineups, but I'm not going to go crazy here. And that's kind of what this game feels like. I mean, Felix Okpara, 6,100. This is another tough price tag for a guy that doesn't do much offensively unless he's getting rebound putbacks or lobs thrown up to him from Zagai Ziegler. I mean, he's a great rebounder, an elite shot blocker, but you really need him to score the ball if you're going to play him at 6,100 in the tournament. So Okpara, haven't decided quite yet. This is one of those slates where you kind of get down to the end and you're like, I gotta make some decisions here because it's getting kind of ugly. And the last guy we have to mention, Jordan Gainey. I mean, he's just kind of like a microwave off the bench for these guys. I don't know that I'm interested at 5,700. I mean, he's got a high 20s minutes role, and he needs to create for this offense. Really, they just have Ziegler on pick and roll, and then they have Chaz Lanier just jacking up a ton of shots, and Gainey's kind of that microwave off the bench for offense. So if you think he gets hot from the field, you can take a shot in tourney. Just rather attack some other spots in this slate. So a weird spot for this game. Total 138. It's not. I mean, we're not jumping up and down, but when you look at it, it's like the fourth highest total on the slate. So may find my way into maybe a 1-1 here, 2-1 at most if you want to try to get different from the other 3,000 people that are taking the old $11 lottery ticket here. So that'll conclude the first game, and looks like we are popping up some comments here. Man, here we go. Sheesh. Jayhawk legend. Let's see. Mike likes Wisconsin tonight. Appreciate the live before like 2 hours. Yeah. S Guild 32, man. No problem. Appreciate you joining us here. Mama Rock saying up to lot. Thanks, Mike. We're in the middle of a snowstorm here in Georgia. We need that bread, man. Good to see you, Mama Rocks. Warren saying, hey, what's up, Warren? And then Mama Rock's talking to all the crew there. So, Jay, hilarious. But hey, also, guys, remember, if you want to get in this chat, man, it's popping off. All you have to do is take that little finger there and puck the subscribe button, and I'll answer every question in the chat for you guys. We'll flash your comments up there for sure. So let's move on to another ugly but kind of interesting game. Boston College +7 at Virginia, 125 implied total. Boston College, 59 implied points, 234th in tempo, and you're getting Virginia defense and a tempo of 363 on that side. So obviously not a great spot for Boston College. Surprisingly, Virginia's defense has been pretty bad in ACC play. They're giving up 53% from two, and they're getting worked on the board. So a little consideration for Chad Benning at 7K. It feels like we've talked about him a lot over the last couple of weeks, obviously with him playing into the 30 minutes now and just his rates and rebounding upside. He's got some tournament upside. This game environment, though, it's not great, but I don't mind how he profiles against Virginia here. So Chad Benning, kind of interesting for tournaments. I'm not playing Donald Hand at 6,900. There's just other places I'd rather go at that, at that price point. Now, if we get Elijah Strong out again, Roger McFarland at 4,600 is interesting because he played a ton of minutes in the last game. Now, I'm obviously going to get a huge boost, insert the starting lineup. He's typically the guy that plays like high teens, but he got 38 minutes against Duke. Now, he didn't do much. It was only 16 fantasy points, and this is Virginia. So we're not expecting a lot, but 3.5, 4x from your value piece tonight is not bad. So with the lack of value, we have to take a hard look here at Roger McFarland. And then some of these other guys like Deion Brown, he's there. He's 4,300. He's playing 30 minutes a game. He's got a cheap price tag. Like the matchup obviously sucks, and he's not someone that really produces anything outside of scoring. So kind of tough to play Deion Brown. But he's in the player pool, and then Jaden Hastings at 3,600. If Strong misses, he fouled out in the Duke game, but he was sort of productive in the limited minutes that he got there. Both of those guys, more secondary value type pieces. On this slate. The Virginia side's a little more interesting. This is a minor pace up for him, 66 implied total, which feels like 80 when you talk about Virginia. BC's been pretty terrible defensively, 228th in the country. They're second worst in the ACC during conference play. They're giving up 120 points per 100 possessions. So an efficiency boost to Virginia and also a steals boost. Boston College cannot take care of the rock. So Elijah Saunders, 6,700. one of the most consistent options on this side. He's coming off the nice game at Louisville, 36 fantasy points. Like, he's going to take a bunch of shots. He has boom bust GPP upside. Kind of like him if you're doing like a balanced type build. He can hurt BC inside and outside. He's got some rebounding upside. So definitely an interesting tournament option. Ian McNeely, Andrew Rohde, like, I'm not too interested in these guys. The price tags are a little too tough for me in tournaments. McNeely could get hot from the field though. So if you're wanting to take a tournament shot on McNeely, I can maybe understand that. But I'm probably off of those guys. I'm really looking at Elijah Saunders and then Day Ames. Here we go again. I don't know how many times we have to have these guys on the slate and talk about Day Ames. He's back into the starting lineup at the last couple of games, 27 and 28 minutes in the last two. He's got scoring and assist upside, which you like at 3,900. So Day Ames is an interesting value piece at 3,900. But yeah, I mean, this is probably not a game where you're going to want to get a lot of exposure to. I think Binning's is a little interesting on the BC side for upside. Roger McFarland as a value play if Strong is out, and then Saunders at 6,500, kind of a mid-tier build, and then Day Ames as what is looking like potentially a core type value piece, which is really tough to say out loud. But that'll conclude the first two games. Remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons. We got 6 games to go here. I wish I could say the totals get a little bit better, but not quite yet as we head into this next game, as Texas Tech is -1 at Cincinnati, 131 implied total. Texas Tech implied for 66 points. They are 291st in tempo, and Cincinnati is slow as hell as well at 284. And Cincinnati pretty tough defensively, 7th in defensive efficiency. Tech is 224th in bench minutes used. One thing you can say is that the two studs for Tech are relatively cheap. Darian Williams, 8,100. Foul trouble last game, big drop in price. A guy that's usually $9K. The rates across the board are fabulous. I like him in cash or tourney settings. Like, this is a nice little bounce back spot. If we get him at lower ownership, he's someone that can win a tournament for you. JT Tompin almost won a tournament for me this past Saturday. I think I finished in 7th on in that big jam there. He's 7,700. A lot of people were afraid to click that button coming off, I believe, he had the illness there, dropped 44 fantasy points. Kearney saying that Toppin is cheap. What's up, Kearney? Absolutely, he's super cheap. I wonder if people are just going to jump on this thing now. The other side is tough. Like, you got Dylan Mitchell, super athletic. Bondego can block shots. So I'm a little worried. It's a tough Cincinnati front court. But this guy, I mean, top 50 usage, top 50 shot rate. His rebounding rates are crazy. Top 100 block rate. So at 7,700, like, if you're not paying up for the 10K studs and you're living in this high 7s, low 8s, this is a good spot for Toppin. Elijah Hawkins sitting here at 6,900. Feels like a cashier play on this side. He's playing major minutes now, high assist rate, seemingly a lock for 20-plus fantasy points when you click his name. 7 straight games of that. The price decrease also puts him slightly in play here for tournaments. So I don't mind that. My problem is I'm trying to figure out if I want to play 1 or 2 Tech guys. I think right now where I'm at is that I want to just pick for tournaments either Williams or Toppin and kind of move on. And double ups, I don't mind, pairing with a Hawkins or just playing Hawkins by himself and leaving Toppin and Williams for the tournament upside. The cheaper guys here, Chance McMillan, 6,300, feels kind of like a cash. Like, there's not a lot of upside, especially when you get the kind of this price point that he's at 6,300. He's going to play mid-30s minutes, but he's more shot dependent. Hawkins has the assist rate, can score. Toppin, obviously, rates across the board. Williams rates across the board. So you're just hoping he gets hot from the field to pay off 6,300. So probably not for me. And then Christian Anderson, he's been the one that's really benefited from the, Toppin illness, the Williams foul trouble the last few games. I still think he's going to see 28-plus minutes. His usage in conference play and during the season, though, it still sits at 16%. He's 5K, so I don't know. I'd be a little careful here with Christian Anderson. Flipping over to the Cincinnati side, 65 implied total. Tech's been lights out defensively, especially the last 2 games. They gave up 57 to K-State and 54 to Arizona. That is pretty good. So, a little worried that this could kind of just be a slugfest here. Cincinnati going to get a little 2-point boost. Tech's actually giving up close to 53% from 2-point line of conference play. But again, we've had Toppin, not in for, game and a half here. So Dan Skilling's at 7,200. the go-to guy with this offense, leads the team in shot rate. He's got some peripheral upside. He can rack up stocks too. But a slight tick down in minutes in the last few games, although one was due to foul trouble. Just kind of a turning option for me. Skilling's at 7,200. Really haven't gotten him right for much of the year. Dylan Mitchell feels more like a cash play. He's playing right at 30 minutes. He's at 7K. This game environment, I don't know that this lends to like a 5X type performance. He's just not a huge part of the offense, but he does enough defensively and on the glass where he can get you to 4X. I'm just not that in love with upside for tournaments. Jizzle James, I love the name and I love the metrics, but lately it hasn't been great. I mean, if you look at the metrics solely, it's 24% usage, 26% shot rate, a 31% assist rate. But the return of CJ Frederick seems to kind of have reduced his role. He's just not that guy that's playing a ton of minutes right now, and that's pretty annoying. So probably passing on Jizzle James. I think two guys for tournaments that I'm interested in. Aziz here at 5,300, solid price tags. Play 24 to 28 minutes. I mean, he's not a go-to offensive weapon either, but he's an elite shot blocker. He has some rebounding upside. If we can get a couple of putbacks, get him to 10 points, he can definitely go for 25 to 30 fantasy points. More of a game stacking piece with one of the guards, and then there's Day Thomas at 4,400. So I have a lot of interest in him. He's starting to get into this mid-20s role in the last 3 games. He's got decent usage, decent shot rate, decent assist rate. He's got some steal upside with not a lot of value options that you feel comfortable out there. Day Ames is 3,900. You can get 500 more to get Day Thomas. I don't mind it. The problem is every $100 is going to matter tonight. Just feels like one of those slates. So that kind of wraps up the Cincinnati side. We'll hit some of these comments here. Let's see. Chris saying, welcome back, Mama Rocks. Man, I just saw I had 48 people in here for a minute. The brand is growing. Yeah, man, appreciate it. Getting a lot of love and support out there. Trying to do our best. Like I said, we don't just do DFS. We do all kinds of stuff. We did 12 coaching interviews last summer. We did, I think, 10 the summer before. And Steve jumping in, Day Ames, professional NPC. Yeah, man, but we need value, Steve. So toss out what you think the best value under anybody in the chat. Toss out who you think the best value under 5K is. We'll kind of debate about it. Williams, a great contrarian play with Toppin's price. Yeah, absolutely. Especially with what Toppin did. And game log. There's gonna be a lot of people in here playing with that, college football money and NFL money. Nothing going on right now. So this is the time where anything about college basketball, you can take down 10K. So, and then Mama Rock's asking about 2 Texas Tech players. Yeah, I mean, this is implied total. It's just tough. Like, it's a tough implied total. So I don't know. I'll maybe in 1 or 2 tournament lineups for me, but I don't know that I'm going anything. I'm just probably going to go real heavy on the sides with the highest team totals. I'm trying to get into UConn and Iowa State, who we haven't talked about yet, and then there's the huge game with Alabama Vanderbilt. Like, if you nail the right pieces, you should be able to make some coins. So keep the questions flowing, y'all. Appreciate it. Here we'll take a quick swig here of some body armor, so we can keep the throat fresh here and keep on going. The next game we have here is the aforementioned Huskies. Butler plus 11 at UConn, 149 implied total. UConn won the first meeting on the road in late December. It was overtime, 78-74. Butler implied for 69 points. Tempo 195th, and then UConn slow as hell, 337th. We'll give Butler a 3-point percentage boost here. UConn's giving up 38% on the year. We talked about that on our news and notes show the other day. It's not the same defense. They don't have the rim protection. They don't have a Castle and a Newton to stay in front of guys on the perimeter. So I'm not as high as some people were. You can look back at the summer videos that we did. I just wasn't as high on this team. Butler 303rd in bench minutes used. So you love that. So you kind of think like, hey, like what's going on with Butler? But then you look at the pricing on Butler and you just look at like what the guys do individually. And you're like, I don't know that I want anybody from Butler. So Jamal Telford at 8,200. I mean, his price is finally coming down. He hasn't been great recently, like mid-20s basically in the last 4 games. You just know you're going to get a bunch of minutes, a bunch of solid rates. He played 39 minutes up in that first matchup. He posted 27.5, but that's not going to get it done on this slate. So on the road, don't love it. Pierre Brooks, I mean, shot dependent. We say the same things about these guys. Like, he's got to get hot from 3, which is where UConn struggles. He's going to take a ton of threes. But on the road, he's shooting 5 percentage points lower than at home. He's shooting 33% from three on the road. So probably a pass from me on Pierre Brooks, even though could I see him hitting 4 or 5 threes? Yeah, but is he going to do anything else? Is he going to collect enough rebounds to get you there? Is really annoying. Patrick McCaffrey at 6,400, more of a cash target for me. There's just not a lot of upside when he gets to like this 6,500, 7K for tourneys. I mean, he's going to stand around the corner. He's going to fire up some threes. I mean, he's shooting 40% on the year, 39% on the road. He's going to be on the floor for roughly 35 minutes. It's just the price tag. Like he's not going to give you stocks. Like this is on the road. I don't trust any of these guys. I mean, Colby King, I guess value if you want to get different from the Day Thomases and the the Days tonight. You can. I mean, he's cheap. He has decent rates. Like you need to get to the spend ups. It's kind of that slate where Colby King is kind of interestingly enough, maybe not a thing, but it's an option. So Colby King there, but much more interested on the UConn side. They have the third highest implied team total at 80 points. Butler, 123rd in defensive efficiency. When you look at it, though, and you condense it into like just Big East play, they're giving up 10 more points per 100 possessions. So it hasn't been great defensively. They can't turn you over. They're not going to block your shot. They're dead last in both categories. So UConn's going to get its looks. They're 133rd in bench minutes as UConn. We'll have to wait for the news here. What's going to happen with McNeely? What's going to happen with Caravan? I would expect Caravan's plays. Hurley said it's not as bad as the one that kept him out of the St. John's game. So if he's in, I have tournament interest in Alex Caravan. Like people tend to lay off guys with the Q tag earlier this year on a Sunday slate. I think Ballo had the Q tag. And that's when you get guys for sub 10%. And then maybe on a slate like this, you give them for sub 5%. And then you just play these guys that have, 5X potential. A lot of playing Caravan, though, kind of boils down to whether McNeely's in, because if he gets in, that kind of muddies up some of the shots that would go Caravan's way. But if Caravan blocks some shots, he's got tournament upside. So I think Alex Caravan is pretty interesting for tournaments. Hassan Diarra, also interesting for tournaments at 8K. He's kind of getting close to this max price again, but he had, 35.75 fantasy points in overtime against these guys on the road. It's encouraging that last game. The thing about Diarra is like he's going to get some steals, he's going to get some assists, but he's going to take enough shots at 8K. He took 13 field goals last game out, and that's not the typical volume that you're going to get out of him, but I think he's a really nice play tonight. Pretty heavy consideration for cash for me. Tournaments, I think he's in there as well. I think he gets a 35 in this spot for sure. So Hassan Diarra on that tournament radar as well. McNeely, hasn't played since January 1st, and if he's in, I don't know that many people will click the name, because we'll be worried about how many minutes is he going to be on. Well, if you want to beat 3,200 other people, and he gets 30 minutes and he's scoring the ball and rebounding, he's got 30-plus fantasy point upside. So a contrarian GPP play, if he's in, we'll have to wait to see. I don't know if we've gotten that news yet. Solo ball at 6,500. If McNeely's out again, I mean, this guy's had to do a lot more scoring. We're super high on him through the offseason, kind of an up and down beginning of part of the year, but he's starting to pick it up. He disappeared in the first matchup. I think he had like 4 points, but he has to be super effective from the field to pay off this price tag. Like the rates outside of him scoring and a few steals are pretty rough. So solo ball at 6,500. Don't mind him for tournaments. Terrace Reed at 5K. I'll probably get in trouble on a few lineups because when you look at 5K and under, realistically, where are the guys that can go 5X or more? And he's one of them. Like I know that Samson Johnson's playing a lot more minutes. He's capable of obliterating the price tag. He's capable of putting up a double-double in 20 minutes. He's capable of going 14 points, 10 boards, and a couple of block shots in 20 minutes. And he's averaging over 1.23 fantasy points per minute here. The question's always how many minutes, and it hasn't even been playing very many minutes. It's because his defense it's really hurt. So if you're trying to win 10K, like I'm a little interested in throwing in Terrace Reed in a few lineups and hoping you get the one Terrace Reed game where you're like, what the hell happened in 18 minutes? If McNeely's out, also look at Jalen Stewart at 4,400. Becomes a safer value play at that forward spot. Minutes are kind of all over the place in the last 4, and the production volatility is pretty annoying. I remember he was Jaden Ross and him just kind of flip-flop as who's going to be like that fifth piece for them. But still, like the potential for 30 minutes is very appealing at 4,400. So Jalen Stewart, yeah, we'll see about the McNeely lose. Let's check out the old chat here. Tertiary need UConn to schedule Maryland Eastern Shore again to get back on track. Yeah, he loves to hammer the non-con in the mids there. So, yeah, man. But I mean, like, let's we know what Terry Street's capable of in 20 minutes, right? And there's not a lot of great value plays. I mean, obviously Jalen Stewart, if he's starting, is going to be a much better player, right? But as a pivot, using Terry Street at 5K in case he has one of those games is pretty interesting for this type of large field setting. If this was the normal 700 entry, 2K to first, I don't know how much interest I would really have in Terry Street, but as far as trying to get different, he's sort of interesting to me. Maybe I'm just burning, $33 on it, but whatever. All right. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. We're flowing through this thing. We're making great time here, which is awesome. Remember, if you want to jump in this chat that is hopping, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I think we're closing in on 1,300. If the producer could let me know if we've hit that 1,300 mark before the end of the show, we'd absolutely appreciate that. We're doing more news and note shows as we continue to come through. Looks like we're at 1298, so whoever hit the sub button, thank you, and thanks to everyone that supported the show from the very beginning. I know we got a lot of day ones in here when we started 3-4 years ago. So, all right, jumping into the next game. This is the one that is probably going to determine the slate. Vanderbilt plus 12 here at Alabama, 170 implied total, which is by far the highest. Vanderbilt implied for nearly 80 points at 79. They're 53rd in tempo. They're getting the max pace up spot with Bama being number one. Bama's been pretty good defensively, but nothing spectacular. Surprisingly, Bama hasn't been able to turn teams over to 348th in opponent turnover rate. The problem is that Vandy's annoying. They're 25th in bench minutes, and we'll find that on the other side too, as we talked about earlier. You got AJ Hoggard here, 6,700. The one guy that you can consistently see getting 30 minutes on this team. Look, the rates are there. We know him from his Michigan State days. He's only topped 30 fantasy points twice this year. So the upside's a little limited for me in tournaments. I don't know that I'm playing Hoggard in tournaments. I think if you're playing cash games, like you just click them double ups, you click them, the pace is too good. I get it. Could he get into the 30s? Absolutely. It's just, man, maybe it's the Michigan State Hoggard that is just stuck in my mind. But sometimes he's just kind of that guy where you click him and then you don't understand what the hell happened on the slate. So Hoggard, if you want to use him in a tournament, I'm completely fine with it. Really, anybody in this environment is completely good to go for tournaments. But if he's going to be popular, I don't want any part of Hoggard. Jason Edwards, I kind of feel the same way. It's really weird. I like the cheaper guys on this team. Jason Edwards is 5,900. If you want to chase the production from Tennessee, look, he had 26 fantasy points. Can he pop for 20 plus again at 6K? You need 24. You need 28 probably in a tournament to really hurt me. That shot rate is nice. It's 31%, but he doesn't do anything else. So unless he's canning 3-pointers here, which he shot 6 for 10 from the field in his 30 minutes, 3 for 6, so 50% from 3. 3 assists, but he's had 2 stocks combined in the last 5 games. So you're really counting on Jason Edwards lighting it up. And I kind of think this is a letdown spot for Vanderbilt. Like, they're coming off the emotional win at home against Tennessee. Now you go on the road, and this Alabama team is no joke. Vanderbilt wants to run. Alabama wants to run even more. So I don't know. Like, this feels kind of scary to get into Hoggard and Edwards. I kind of like Jalen Carey here at 6K. I know I just talked about chasing. I don't know that I'm necessarily chasing on this because this guy, fantasy point per minute, pretty solid. Large field GPP target, like you're getting the $800 increase after he put up 32 fantasy points against Tennessee. Those rates are pretty good across the board. The problem is the minutes. Like, he could get 15 or he could get 28. So that's why he's a large field GPP target. So if you get 25 minutes, like you're feeling decent that he could have a nice game here. Kind of saw what Amari Williams. We've seen what bigs have been able to do against Alabama, so that's kind of been a thing. So yeah, he's in the player pool at 6K. It's kind of a contrarian type play. Chris Mannon at 4,600. Typically, I come on here and I say I don't want to play guys 18% shot rate. Well, this dude's shot rate 13%. The thing is, he'd been playing mid-20s minutes in the previous 2 games before he got into foul trouble against Tennessee. But he's in this game environment. They need his length on the wing. They need his defense. He has a massive offensive rating. Like, he's very efficient, a solid combining rebounding rate of 22%, 12% assist rate, top 100 block rate, top 10 steal rate. So to me, he's kind of an interesting GPP play. I don't know, the chat, let me know what your thoughts on Manning are. And feels like if you click any of these guys, I mean, you could be rendered to 20 minutes. You just don't know what these rotations are going to shake out. I mean, MJ Collins kind of the beneficiary of some things that have happened over the last few games, getting mid-20s run here at 4,200. Yeah, I mean, he's in the tournament player pool for value, super shot dependent, but MJ Collins in the player pool here along with Chris Manning. So, yeah, definitely interesting at least here. Let's see, Jay jumping in. Yeah, Devin Royals available today. Yep, that hurts. We're not playing Evan Mahaffey. Let's see, Edward was sick. Steve saying Edward was sick early January for LSU. So I could see him 30-plus minutes are back for him, or at least the potential for 30-plus. Yeah, we got Vanderbilt, right? Looks like Alex Caravan is in per Joe Aruda. So, yeah, if we find out McNeely's out, I mean, I do like those UConn spin-ups. So we'll see how that all shakes out. I'll try to get out of here in about 20 minutes. We got about an hour to make our lineups after that. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons here. We got to flip this on the other side where we have the 91-point implied total. And it's like, how many guys is too many guys on the Bama side? Game's going to be insanely fast. I mean, these guys have cleared 90-plus points in half their games. Like, Vanderbilt can't stop the three ball this year. Bama's going to shoot a million. I think they're top 20 in three-point rate. So the question is, who's going to get it all for Bama? It's usually 2 to 3 guys. And that's always the tough thing to figure out. So you got Mark Sears here, and he's 9,800. Max price Mark Sears, 9,800 with like some value plays that kind of make you want to throw up. He's interesting for tournaments because I don't think he's going to be heavily owned, especially when you consider what Nelson and Philon have done over the past couple of games and some of the cheaper options on Bama. So, yeah, I don't mind him for tournaments. If he drops 50 fantasy points, like, are you dead? Like, am I dead in the water if I don't have him? I don't think I am. So, I don't know that I'm going to get to Mark Sears, but I could see Mark Sears on the winning lineup for sure because his ownership's going to be pretty low. And if you hit those 1 or 2 value pieces, then it's really going to hurt people. So Mark Sears, absolutely. Every slate he has 40 to 50 point upside, but he can also every now and then disappear when Nelson and Philon start to go up. But he's playing really good basketball right now. Grant Nelson at 7,900 was all over him. I think I've had him on 40% of my lineups on Saturday. He absolutely smashed Kentucky. I think he had like 20 fantasy points in the first like 5 minutes of the game. I always play him in tournaments. Like I'm just gonna click Grant Nelson anytime I play a large field tournament. This would be no different. The problem is that I think people are gonna see what he did against Kentucky and they're gonna try to ride this train, which makes me want to get off of Grant Nelson. But he has legit double upside. He's got stock upside. But yeah, that Kentucky game, which a lot of people watched. If you looked at the leaderboard, a lot of people up at the top at Grant Nelson. He's one of the highest scorers on the slate. So 8K chalk Grant Nelson is like one of the scariest things in CBB DFS. Pretty scary there. Philon there at 6,200. Dude's been awesome this year. 23% shot rate, 28% assist rate, 3% steal rate. Like we're not getting the $5,700 price tag. It was 100. I was 100% on him. I think I left him off one lineup the other day on Saturday, and 6,200 is still too cheap for what he can give you, especially if he's going to get you, 30 minutes here. Have to have this guy in your tournament player pool, liable to go 5X here. And there's just not that many guys, especially around this 6K price tag that you can say that about. So LeBaron Philon, definitely going to have him in some tournament lineups. Joking with Nate C. Hustle the other day about Big Cliff. Do we talk about him? Do we not talk about him? I guess we have to, because he put up 25 fantasy points. So this could be a complete trap. He played 25 minutes against Kentucky last game, which tied for his season high. We know he's not going to have the Rutgers production. So he's not going to have that 35, 40 fantasy point upside that he had every now and then there at Rutgers. That $500 price increase kind of makes it tough to get there. But there he is at 5,300. If you want to get into this game, I could see it. Probably just not for me. Chris Youngblood, have a little bit of interest in. Like, he could get hot from three. This is a Vanderbilt team that gives up a ton of threes. He could bang out 5X here. He's super reliant on the three ball. I'd probably render him more of a secondary value play because he's at 5K now. It was lovely when he was in the 3K and low 4Ks. We're not getting that again. But Chris Youngblood, Someone if you're making 3-2 stack, 3-1 stacks on the Alabama side, like I definitely don't mind it. And then Diabate, just a monster fantasy, guy. I mean, just the minutes, boom bust, definitely 4,800. Got a $600 increase, but Diabate, are you going to get single digit fantasy points, or are you going to get 25? Like, he's gone crazy against really good teams. Kentucky, San Diego State, Rutgers, Houston in that game when he just went off. So, Diabate, definitely someone that I have a little bit of large field tournament interest in for sure. So, cool. That'll wrap up that game. I think we have 3 games left. Remember in the chat. Oh, Steve jumping in. Oh, Kobe King out. Oh, God. With concussion. I don't want to play Finley, Bizjack, or Landon Moore. Had to go red solo cup on that one. 2 drinks here. So, okay. Well, that's news. That'll put a couple of ugly value pieces in play in Landon Moore and in Finley Bizjack. So, do with that information what you will. Let me know in the comments what you think about that news, because that's kind of interesting. I'll have to play some Butler greaseball now. God, I don't even want to think about that. That's just terrifying. All right, let us move on here. Ohio State +9 at Purdue, 143 implied total. Ohio State 67 implied points, 185th in tempo. Purdue slow, 290th. Purdue's been excellent defensively. I didn't see that at the beginning of the year. 2 teams I didn't see that with, Purdue and Illinois. I don't think I posted on social media. I think I just said it in our little group chat. I was like, I don't know how Illinois is going to defend anybody, and Illinois is a pretty good defense. So, hey, you got to admit when you're wrong sometimes. But Purdue, I don't know what's going on. They've just been really good lately. They don't have any rim protection, and which makes this even more impressive. Like, they don't have that guy at the rim that really puts fear into anybody. So, excellent job, by this program to Matt Painter to get this done. But looking on this Ohio State side, like Bruce Thornton is such an interesting GPP option, and I've been hammering him for like the last 2 slates, and I've not gotten paid on it. I mean, he's due for a big game. I know this is on the road. I just talked about how great Purdue's playing on defense. His price tag is hefty at 9,400. I mean, he really has to try and do it all for this team. He logs almost every minute. There's just not a lot of guys on the slate with 40-plus fantasy point upside, so he's interesting in tournaments. Definitely interesting at 9,400. We know that Devin Royal is going to be in. Missed the last game. I believe it was a sprained wrist, if I remember correctly, but he is active. Even at 7,800, though, I'm not clicking Devin Royal at 7,800 here. Micah Parrish is pretty interesting. 6,100. I mean, he crushed Indiana. Got those huge minutes there. Well, he's gonna have to shoulder the load, for these guys to be successful. Now, Royal back in kind of hurts his upside, so I kind of like that. Maybe some people will jump off. Could be an interesting tournament play. I don't know that I'll actually get to him. John Mobley, kind of the same spot. Like with Royal back, like he just has so much usage that now when you're paying $6K for Parrish and Mobley, it feels tough. I mean, it's a much different matchup than Indiana. Indiana, they're just a mess. But he fires up a bunch of threes, Mobley does. So I don't know if he's going to be that popular. I thought he was going to be a little more popular if Royal was going to be out. Now with Royal in, I don't think Parrish and Mobley really get much consideration here at that those mid-tier price tags. Sean Stewart, gross. The Oregon 32 fantasy points he had, that random pop. Hasn't been anywhere near that recently. But I know he's near a fantasy point per minute. The problem, he just doesn't play minutes. Like, he plays low 20s minutes. They want to get Bradshaw 10 to 12, 14, 16 minutes. They want to get the other big kid a few minutes. So for me, like Sean Stewart, because of the price tag, he has to be in play. Because of his production, he has to be in play. Like, if he gives you a 20, you feel pretty good about it. It's just not a fun click. And then when he disappears for 14 fantasy points, and you're like, what the hell? It's always tilting. So we'll flip over to the Purdue side. Slight pace up here. Ohio State's been pretty good defensively. We'll give a steals boost to some of these Purdue guys. I mean, Ohio State has turned it over a bit in Big Ten play, 19% turnover rate in Big Ten games. Purdue 219th in bench minutes used, and really it's 2 guys. I'm not touching anybody else on this Purdue side. Outside of Braden Smith and TKR. The problem with Smith is he's 10-5, and that's just hard to get to on this slate. Like when 50 fantasy points, is not a killer. No, he can go for 60. And I think I had him on the slate when he went for 60. But, I goes for 40, 45, and you just feel okay at 10-5. So he's still got one of the highest ceilings on the slate. I'm going to, a couple of lineups, him and Cam Jones, we'll talk about them a little bit. They're at these insane price tags for this type of slate where, we're scraping the barrel for some type of value to get to these guys to unlock high ceilings. I mean, Braden Smith, like you have to have him in consideration for tournaments. I think TKR is interesting. He's played some really good ball. Me and Jay kind of laughed back in the offseason. We said, well, what's the max price TKR would be this year? I thought 7,500 would be the max. I didn't see. I knew he was great when UD was out, and that he was always a solid per minute producer. But he's 8,400. And when you look at Ohio State, like they're getting beat up inside. They don't really have that big that strikes fear in anybody. You have Stewart and Bradshaw down there, but Bala went for 21 and 15. You let Steven Crawl go for 14 and 7, and then Nate Biddle went for 21 and 8. Those are just the last 3 games. So, like the connection between Smith and TKR has been awesome this year. There's no way you can play both together, I don't think, not in this type of environment. But this guy's been balling. I like his rebounding upside. I love TKR in tournaments at 8,400. He's definitely interesting for sure. So we'll pop in some of the comments here. See if anybody's no comments here, man. We'll keep it rolling. Make sure you hit make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. We got a couple of games left, and if you haven't checked out some of the other content that we do, please make sure you go back into the archives and check some of those out. You want to see an interview with Steve Alford, Mark Pope, Coach DeVries, Coach English, like they're all in there, man. Go check us out. We'll be covering the portal a ton. Obviously, the tournament's coming up. We'll be covering that. Hell, we're in Central Texas. We'll be down there in San Antonio for that thing. So we'll catch up with some of you guys if you guys are down there. But appreciate all the love and support. Let's jump into the UCF plus 17 at Iowa State, 155 implied total. UCF sitting here with a 69 implied total, 43rd in tempo. Iowa State 95th. So it's going to be a fast game, but Iowa State's 6th in defensive efficiency. UCF, you do know who's going to be on the floor. 299th in bench minutes used. You got Keyshawn Hall here. I'm not playing Keyshawn Hall at 9,200. This is a crazy price tag. I know he dropped the 60 bomb at ASU a few games ago. There's just no way I'm paying for him at this price tag at Iowa State. Like, if you beat me with a low-owned Keyshawn Hall at Iowa State, then congratulations to you. We'll move on, essentially. There's 3 guys that I really like here, and that's Darius Johnson, Jordan Ivy-Curry, and Mustafa Chim. And Johnson's sitting here at 7,600. I think he's an awesome tournament play. He's the straw that stirs the drink for these guys. He has 30+, 35 in the bag. If he gets real hot, he can get up to 40. We know Iowa State's playing a lot faster than they used to. They want to get up and down. We just saw kind of the games that they just played, and they gave up some fantasy points. So Javon Small went for 27, 7, and 5 with 4 steals. Now, obviously, I'm not saying Darius Johnson's going to do that, but we're just saying that the lead guard just went off against them. So I definitely like Darius Johnson for turning play. JIC here, he's 5,500. This is a play that's probably going to get me into trouble in tournaments. One, I think he's going to be a little popular because of the price tag. 2, it just seems like it's too good to be true, right? To be getting 30 minutes, high shot rate, some assist rate. He's due for some positive shooting regression. Like, he has not shot the ball well. He makes a few extra shots, and you're talking about 4x pretty easily. It feels like he's going to be a little bit chalky around the industry as like kind of a lower mid type play. I want off on him, and all that has to do with I just would rather take some upside of Mustafa Chim, who can get you 35. So he's kind of in the same boat where like it's hard to pass on this guy when they're on the floor for 28 to 32 minutes. But this is a road game. I mean, Chim just smashed Houston for 32.5 fantasy points. Like, I don't know that we saw that coming. 18 points, 5 boards, had 3 blocks, but that's the type of upside at 5,300 that I'm looking for in a tournament. ISU's defense, like, Jackson and Jefferson, like I'm not afraid to attack them. So, JIC and Chim here, definitely tournament plays that I'm going to be getting into. DeLon Coleman, he's kind of a secondary cash play. 3.5, 4x be amazing tonight from your value. If you told me he's playing 30 minutes for sure, I'd have – he's such an ugly play. But he's just so hard to trust. I don't know that I'll actually get to him. You're gonna be rotating this mess, and there's a guy in the last game that we'll talk about here that's gonna be mega chalk that is super scary to roster. So I think UCF is, even though they're 17-point dogs, I think Johnson and JIC and Jim have some interesting upside here. So as we flip over to the second highest implied team total on the slate, Iowa State 86 points implied. The UCF defense has been pretty much hot dog water. In Big 12 play, they're giving up 114 points per 100 possessions. We're going to give a 3-ball boost here to Iowa State, shot blocking boost. UCF loves to get their shots blocked. They're not great around the rim unless Chim is grabbing boards for UCF. So I know he's in, but yeah, that's almost a 90 implied total on this Iowa State side. Josh Jefferson at 9,600. No, thank you. I'm not playing Josh Jefferson at 9,600. It's just a no for me. I don't love the upside, especially when you put Curtis Jones in the starting lineup now with Momcilovic out. Like, now you have Jones and Gilbert in the starting lineup, and they're just going to absolutely dominate the ball. Now, could Jefferson give you 35 fantasy points? Yeah, but I don't want that at 9,600. At 9,600, I want to unlock 40 to 45 fantasy points. Like, so for me, I'm out on Jefferson, which makes him kind of an intriguing tournament play. Curtis Jones at 8,800, like, the price tag is kind of laughable at the beginning of the season. If you said Curtis Jones was 9K, we'd have been like, what, Iowa State's, going to go to the Final Four. And, they're one of those teams that has that type of ceiling. So he's just very shot dependent. He's going to take a ton of threes. The team total is so nice. A couple of these guys are going off. Just the price is baked in there for Jefferson and Jones. But I feel like Jones or Gilbert is going to be on one of the or on the 10K winning lineup. Just feels like that for me. So he's a fine tourney play if you find the value pieces, obviously, to go around him. Or if you're not paying all the way up into like that 10K range for Cam Jones and Braden Smith, and you're starting your builds at 8,800, I think it's a lot easier to get to, and maybe you only have to play one value play and maybe someone down the low 5K range to make it happen. Gilbert there, look, he hasn't been dominant recently, but he's $1,000 cheaper than Jones. He has upside to get it close to 40. He's playable in tournaments, obviously, with that type of upside and this price tag. I mean, 5X for sure. So I love Gilbert, especially as a pivot to Jones. I don't know how popular Jones is going to be. Feels like when people click Jones and you're trying to build around it, and then you find out Gilbert's $1,000 cheaper, and he has a really good upside, and that'll get you off of somebody in the 4K range. That might be the way people start to go, which is what makes Jones an awesome tournament play. And then Gilbert, obviously, with that type of upside, is going to be a nice cash or tournament play. Taman Lipsey, I don't know, man. 6,300, like, he's the maybe I'm the last year phase, right? Where it's like, why is Taman Lipsey? Why is he 6,300? We've talked about his role changing. He's pretty much, I don't even know. I mean, you look at it and it's like Jones, Gilbert in the starting lineup, like Jefferson. Like, he's just kind of there. He could easily flop, or he could give you 30 fantasy points. I think he's interesting for tournaments. I don't think a lot of people are going to. I mean, projections out there are probably, give him a decent projection, maybe in the mid-20s. But, yeah, can he go for 30, 35? Absolutely. So Taman Lipsey definitely there. I got burned by the Momcilovic steal the other day, and, I had Chatfield a ton. I think it was like 80% Chatfield, which was probably a mistake on my part. And then Nate Heisey, like, I'm more interested in getting to Gilbert, Jones, and Lipsey from this Iowa State side. I don't think I'm going to play Chatfield or Heisey. There's just better spots to go after. So we'll wrap this thing up. We got one game to go here. We got some comments in here. Warren Tyler saying he loves some TKR. Absolutely. Iowa State coming off a loss. UFC, that heartbreaker to Houston. Fully expect Iowa State. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about Tennessee and Mississippi State going to Tennessee tonight. Like, there's a lot of spots where it's like this play could get just absolutely ugly really quickly. Jackson and Lipsey tonight. I didn't talk about Deshaun Jackson. I don't get excited by Deshaun Jackson, man. Like, it's just kind of mid-20s minutes. Like, I don't know. Lightning's going to strike. If Jackson, man, if you play Jackson and Lipsey, like, I don't know, man. That's kind of scary, Cam, but I like it. It's 3,200 entrance. Steve saying the fact that Lipsey isn't a smash play in the spot, this makes him sad. Just getting stuffed into a locker by Gilbert. Yeah. I mean, Curtis Jones, man, like he's just been so good this year. Needs max steals and free throw attempts. Yeah, he's just kind of there. It's weird, man. I've lost a lot of money on playing Lipsy thinking it's 2024 Lipsy, but not quite there. All right, last game here. Marquette minus 12 at Seton Hall, 134 implied total. Marquette 73 implied, 177th in tempo for the Golden Eagles. And we get Seton Hall, another slate with Seton Hall and Boston College. They're super slow. They're 338th in tempo. Seton Hall just getting stomped defensively. They're last in the Big East in defensive efficiency. This is in conference play. Defensive efficiency, effective field goal percentage, opponent free throw rate, opponent 2-point percentage at nearly 60%. And, they're second to last in three-point percentage at 40%. So teams are absolutely just mashing. Who's in a bounce back spot in this slate? That would be Marquette. So I'll look for the Golden Eagles to put it on Seton Hall on the road here. Cam Jones, Joplin, Ross, Mitchell, Gold, like those are the five guys. Like these guys are probably popping in projections, so they're probably going to be higher on, especially as a hammer piece. Marquette 324th in bench minutes used. You got Cam Jones here coming off the 24. Absolute bounce back spot for him here against Xavier, where they lost that game kind of in Shaka Smart fashion. Know that all too well down here in Austin, but we've seen what teams have done to Hall, obviously. So he's got a pretty straightforward path to 40 plus fantasy points, has one of the highest ceilings on the slate. Can you find the value pieces to go around him? I mean, if you do, he's one of the better spend ups. I have to have him in a few lineups. Him, Braden Smith, it feels like you can't not play this nasty slate without having one of those guys a couple of times if you're mass multi-entering because they have such high upside, 50 fantasy point upside. David Joplin at 8,500, like I never play this guy. I'm okay that's completely burned me the last couple of slates. I'm not going to pay 8,500 for David Joplin. I'm not going to pay 8,500. I know he's had some rebounding upside. His shot blocking has been crazy. He takes so many threes. I'm not into it. His median is typically mid-20s, high 20s. That's an insane price point to pay for Joplin. If you and that's going to make him. I don't know that people will go to him at all. So interesting tournament play, but I'm not. It feels like you're just wasting your time trying to get a ceiling game out of David Joplin at 8,500. But who knows? Maybe the Lightning will strike. I wouldn't even say a third time because at 35 fantasy points last game at 8,500, like I don't know that quite gets it done tonight. So Chase Ross sitting here at 7K. Remember when Chase Ross was like super cheap a few weeks ago and he either broke the slate or didn't do anything? Well, now we're getting that. Now he's expensive. And could he go for 35? Absolutely. Could he be in the teens? Absolutely. So, I mean, you can nuke or he could disappear. The prices on these secondary guys for Marquette are just, especially Joplin and Ross, even Stevie Mitchell at 68. That's a tough click as well. They're just starting to get expensive. But I think this is a really nice spot for them. Obviously, Hall's just having so much trouble here defending. But you know what you're going to get from Stevie Mitchell, more so than you know what you're going to get from Chase Ross from a game-to-game basis. So Mitchell more of a cash play, Ross more of a GPP target. And then Ben Gold at 6K. What a time to be alive for Ben Gold to be 6K. The last four, he's been right around 3.5 to 4X. I'm not getting to him in tourneys. Like, I just don't care. Unless Ben Gold's under 5K, I just don't click his name. So I'll pass on Ben Gold here. We'll flip it over to the other side where I'm not sure if we've gotten news yet. Seton Hall, only 61 implied total. News on whether DAW and Chauncey Jenkins are going to play. That's pretty huge. These guys obviously having a hard time scoring, having a hard time defending, and Marquette's no slouch on either end of the floor. So we've got to talk about if both guys are out. Look at Isaiah Coleman. Even if both guys are in, honestly, Isaiah Coleman's just been so good. I know he's cooled off over the last few games, which if that takes everybody off of him, jump on him in a large field tournament. Like he's going to take 1,000,000 shots. They absolutely need Isaiah Coleman's offense to have any type of success. I've missed the train. I think I talked about that, last time we did an LBL. But I do find him interesting in tournaments. He's got peripheral rates to kind of go with all those shots that he's taken. So, tournament only because it's Seton Hall, and you don't know if they're even going to score 50. And then, oh boy, here we go. going to say, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but here we go. Chalk of the night is probably going to be Garway Dual, and that is absolutely terrifying. One, he's 4,500. Two, I and everyone in the chat has had more fantasy points than Garway Dual in three or more games here with a 0. Like, what are we doing? Remember last year, he would be chalk on some of these slates at Providence. Guys, we're outscoring Garway Dual. I get it. The stock upside's there. He's a great defensive prospect. If he's going to play big minutes, something has to have, something has to happen. I don't think if he plays 30 plus minutes, can he get negative points? I don't think that's going to happen, right? So I got to cool it a little bit on the, bashing Dual here. And I'm going to recommend him here in a minute for cash and tourneys, essentially, because he feels like the safest value play on the board, which is really sad. But they need him out there. They need his defense. He's long, wiry. He's coming off a really nice game. It's just we've seen this story a few times before. And chat, if you've experienced the Garway Dual story, whether it was last year or even multiple times this year, let us know in the chat. And then you got a couple of the guys worth mentioning, Godswill, and I don't even know how to say the last name, Godswill E here, 3,600. Saw 24 minutes last game. They're just kind of grasping at anything here. 16 fantasy points in those 24 minutes. You don't mind that. The rates are terrible. Doesn't even have an assist on the year. I think he's got maybe 1 assist on the year, but it's pretty poor. Jasheem Felton, 3,400, starting to get a consistent role here in the high teens, mid-20s. Again, the rates are not great, but he's in the value player pool. So, man, we've hit an hour here. So let's get this thing wrapped up. We'll check the chat here, and then we'll get on out of here. Belly Ball, what's up, Belly Ball? Good to see you again, man. Appreciate you jumping in the chat last night for our news and notes. 6K for gold is a no. Yeah, that's a good no from me. All right, no chat comments about Garway Dual tonight, so maybe I'm doing it wrong. Someone's banging on my door. Could be the dog, could be the kids. All right, let's wrap this thing up here, guys. We can get you out of here. We've got about 55 minutes to lock. So here for a kind of give you a little bonus here on the tourney. We'll start with the cash core. So the 4 guys selected here for cash. Mark Sears from Alabama. He is 9,800, just in the best game environment on the slate. He's just been doing his thing. AJ Hoggard for Vanderbilt, 6,700. You just know he's going to give you mid-20s fantasy points at a minimum. Jordan Ivy Curry, I would toss him in here just because of the role that he has right now. He's playing 30 minutes. He's 5,500. Do like him in more of a cash game setting. And then Garway Dual or Day Ames in cash here. Dual being 4,500, Ames at 3,900. And then you have now all of a sudden the Butler value, who you can select as well. From Landon Moore and Finley Bizjack if you want to get kind of crazy with it. So here we go for the cash core here. We have 58.75. So do with that what you will. We'll slide over here. We'll kind of do 2 types of tourney cores here. So the way I'm looking at the slate is like, are you going to pay up for one of those big dogs like a Sears, a Jones, a Smith? Because if you do, I think you got to. I don't think you can dive into the 7-8K range as much here. So for like a high-end spend up, as far as a core, we'll go with Cam Jones at 10-2. Just love this bounce-back matchup against the terrible Seton Hall defense. Phylon for Alabama at 6,200. I like Mustafa Chim at 5,300 as a turning play here. And then we're just going back to the same guys that we've been talking about, which is Dual, Day Ames. Pick your value poison. The Butler guys with King out now. It's going to leave you 5.9 to kind of play around with. So maybe taking one more value type guy, and then that'll get you back into the 8K range to get you into the kind of the mid 5s and 6s to finish out your lineup. And then we have a kind of a lower end spend up core, which is kind of the one that I'm liking. I'm liking getting to one of these guys that we talked about from Iowa State. I'm liking like a Curtis Jones, a Keyshawn Gilbert, starting your lineup with one of those 2. It feels like one of those 2 could absolutely crush this slate at that team total that they have and just what they're, what they mean to this team. And then looking at, someone like Hassan Diarra or, playing another 8K guy with them, somebody from Tech, Williams or Toppin, they're 8,200 and 7,700. even a Caravan. So picking like a UConn guy and picking one of the Tech guys, because we know that the highest implied totals on the slate are Alabama, Iowa State, and UConn. So you get the guy from the Cyclones, you get the guy from UConn. You're playing Thylon again from Bama down here at 6,200. You could also pair him with another Bama piece under 6K, and then you go right back to your value player pool with Garway, Day Ames, some of these other secondary type plays that you could throw in there as well. So that'll be kind of like if you're not spending all the way up and you want to keep it under 9K to keep your dollars up, I think that's definitely the way to go here. Please no way, Garway. Yeah, I hope we get a few more things before lock to where we can kind of diversify our priorities, man, because it doesn't feel great to click that. Kearney, Mike, how do you rank the top studs as a priority for these builds, man? I think where I'm at is kind of what I talked about. Like I want to get to lower price studs so that way I'm not spending on these ugly value plays. So if I had to rank, like we'll take all the guys over 9K. We're probably putting Cam Jones first of everybody 9K and over. Braden Smith second. I like Ziegler third. And then this is specifically for tournament settings. And then because I'm playing a ton of Phylon, I'm just not going to have a lot of Sears. So I would rank Sears fourth, although you could stake a claim that, his upside is just as good as Smith or Jones. It's just if I'm playing Phylon, I'm not going to play Phylon and Sears together. But honestly, once you kind of get into this high 8K range, like starting your lineups with a Curtis Jones at 88 or the Gilbert at 78, starting it with a TKR at 84 is your most expensive player, starting it with the Caravan or the Texas Tech studs up at the top, that is going to drastically change the bottom tier. You're going to go from your guys that are 4,500 to 4K, and you're going to boost a couple of them up to 5K by not playing a Braden Smith or a Cam Jones or a Mark Sears. The problem is those guys have obviously slate breaking value, and if you hit the value pieces, that's crazy. Missed thoughts on Jacob? Yeah, I mean, the minutes just haven't really been there. Like, he's an excellent fantasy producer. On the Virginia side, talked about it. It's really Elijah Saunders or Day Ames for me. Then we'll pay attention to the news because we got a lot of things we got to clear up. I know we know Royals in, so that takes Mahaffey off the board for me. We got who else did we mention that was in here? Caravan's in. I don't think we know about McNeely, the two Seton Hall guys. Elijah Strong, what's going to happen with here, and Roger McFarland as a backup piece. Darian Reed, is he going to be in? Because that kind of makes some of the Alabama guys at the lower end, kind of spreads them out a little more thin. So, all right, cool guys. We'll get you guys out of here. This is one of a longer live before lock, but obviously 10K to first. Hope somebody out there gets that bread. Appreciate everything. And everybody for all the comments. Yes, Jay, we need to diversify our lineups and our bonds. Cam, good luck to you tonight, man. Hopefully we'll see a lot of you guys up at the top of the leaderboard. And who knows, maybe we'll be back tomorrow. You just never know. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons for everyone that is out there. Good luck tonight. My name is Mike Holland, and I am the captain of the no longer Green Screens Media ship. It is now the one and done CBB ship. But good luck, guys, and let's have a great night, and let's go spend some money once we win it. Peace.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.